Okay, here we go. Strap in for another fun-packed episode. It's News Roundup, the part of the show where I take a look at EUC headlines from around the world. And in the week when I finally think that technology has gone too far, with the French car company Peugeot trying to sell a car in the UK which they claim has the ability to whisper into people's arseholes.
You're the one whispering into our souls.
I spotted this story. It's not really news, but it is certainly newsworthy. Here we see footage of a rider in China who lost his master down a mountainside. I mean, it's EUC, not someone who owns him. He managed to rustle together a posse of hunters who set about searching for a needle in a haystack. Astonishingly, they managed to locate his runaway wheel after it fell for hundreds of feet, out of sight and into deep vegetation. If it hadn't hit these trees, I am convinced it would have kept going forever. But then they managed to drag this heavy beast of a wheel back up onto the path in an amazing display of teamwork, and then he rides it back down the mountain. I bet he was nervous all the way down in case he did something stupid again. I don't know about you, but I don't have 4 mates who would go through all of that if I dropped my wheel off a cliff. Hell, I don't have 4 family members who would go to that trouble if I threw myself off a cliff top. This next one is a bit more like a news story, as I spotted reports which indicated that Batch 3 of the Sherman S receive a third-party independent quality control process. If this footage is anything to go by, this bloke has either got the best job in the world or the worst. He must be up and down more steps each day than a lighthouse keeper's dog. I reckon there are about 100 Shermans lined up and waiting for testing in this clip, and so far he's only done about 5 or so. Come on lad, if you don't get a move on, Bigode will have released 3 more designs to market before these get out of the warehouse. Now it's time for Riders and Sliders. Here's where I show you some footage of people showing off their skills or getting senselessly hurt. To begin with, here we see a brave individual giving it everything he's got in an attempt to ride up a flight of stairs, which I have to say appears to have become something of a growing craze of late. He fails but makes an impressive stop, a bit like Spider-Man, rather than smashing face first into the handrail, as I would have done. There are some bemused onlookers, not least these kids, but the speed of his attempts to get up the stairs makes me think he is either in some sort of race event or attempting to evade the police. Next up, here we see a simply sickening crash on a V13. Having experienced a crash at similar speeds, I can only watch this through the gaps in between my still badly broken fingers. Fortunately, he's okay. I'm not entirely sure of the reason for the crash and therefore can only speculate that it's as a result of a power overload. And this is a helpful reminder that all wheels have their limits, even the ones that people might think are invincible. As this commentator puts it, play stupid, win stupid prizes. Speaking of which, next up we see a brave little soldier trying his hardest to outrun a car when the inevitable happens. Somehow he survives a full-speed crash while seated, without both his knees ending up permanently repositioned to somewhere up near his ears. My top tip: cars are always going to win a drag race. Moving on, and here we see some experimentation being done by Deliveroo, the food delivery people trying to see if they can speed up the delivery times by converting food coolers into EUCs. And if this footage is anything to go by, no, I'm guessing not. If you ordered the Big Mac and a bottle of Coke and this guy pulls up, give it 10 minutes before you open the bottle. And finally, for Riders and Sliders this time, do you want to see some footage of a man folding himself into a pretzel shape after falling off his EUC on some trails? Of course you do. And here's the part of the show where I trawl through social media, bringing you the best and often the worst of what it has to offer. Every week I trawl through hours and hours of some shockingly taken footage of people riding their EUCs, trying to find good content for this show. You are welcome. Here I spotted perhaps the worst attempt at posting any riding footage that I have ever seen. At first I thought it was a demonstration of how good wheels are at riding on steep inclines, but then quickly realised that this numpty just can't work out how to flip his footage round to the right orientation. I had to turn my entire monitor onto its side to watch this. I also spotted this photo of somebody who stores their collection of EUCs in their fireplace. Either he's trying to hide them from his missus, because this did remind me of one of those priest holes you find in 16th century British homes. Google it. Or he's so aware of the likelihood of EUCs spontaneously bursting into flames, he figures this is the best place to keep them. With today's rising energy prices, it may actually be economically viable to buy an M104 every few days, as thermal runaway fires could heat the whole house for up to a week. Social media also threw up this cleverly photoshopped 3D effect image of a guy accelerating forward at an angle of about 80 degrees, which is not physically possible. I am concerned that, and I'm basing this on some of the evidence we've just seen in this episode alone, that not all EUC riders are shuffling a full deck. I might think that this is something they could have a go at doing. But seeing this type of image is exactly the sort of thing that makes people on Facebook angry. It's got everything. Accelerating like a loony, not wearing protective gear, riding what looks like an early air wheel or solar wheel, and being ginger. While over on Twitter, Tim Rodriguez shows off some insane skills in flying a remote control plane while riding an EUC. Having ridden while flying drones, I can tell you that this is something unimaginably difficult to do. You're trying to manage your own speed, direction and balance while doing the same thing for a remote controlled aircraft in a multi-dimensional environment. Tim's skill level is off the scale. Imagine trying to pat your head, rub your stomach while stirring a cup of tea, juggling knives and reciting a tongue twister. He somehow manages to fly his plane under and through a gate and then catches it. Show off. And now it's time for Readers' Lives. This is the point where I read out some of the comments I've received on my recent videos. An interesting point of view was shared by Solarize Your Life, who commented, EUCs are getting too big and too fast. No one should ride faster than a Class 3 e-bike. 40 km an hour is fast enough. Now I'm genuinely interested to hear your thoughts on this one. Should there be some sort of restriction? Are wheels getting too fast? Is there such a thing as too fast? 40 km an hour is around 25 miles per hour. Let me know what you think. Meanwhile, Shia LaBeouf, and yes, I am utterly convinced it is the real Shia LaBeouf, and why wouldn't it be, commented on the photo I shared in the last episode of the S22 seat that someone had fabricated out of a sawn-off shotgun. Shia gave a quip that would not be out of place in one of his many blockbuster movies and said, "How did you miss riding shotgun?" Yep, how the hell did I miss that one? Well, that's it for this episode. Please keep sending me your comments. If you are doing something special on an EUC, I would love to hear about it so that I can share it with the rest of the world. I know you'll have been smashing that like button already because you'll be having such an amazing time. So that's all the admin taken care of. Love you. Bye.